Hello, friends. If you're in a temperate area, we hope you're enjoying the summer. And if you live in the tropics, well, it's always summer, I guess, but hopefully it isn't too hot for you. Anywho, hello from North Africa, specifically Libya,
where our proverb of the day is, the low donkey is prone to be ridden by everyone.
In other words, don't be a low donkey today.
Okay, to be clear, I think it means that if you set yourself low, people will take advantage of you if you let them.
That's what I said now. Don't be a low donkey so people will not take advantage.
That's not what you said exactly, Joma.
Okay, fine. But our listeners love me and they know that's what I meant.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, sure. Let's just move on.
Oh, wow.
So, like we said before, we are in Libya today and we will be talking about a scrumptious dish called mbatan or mubatan. It is made from meat and potatoes, and if you want, you can top it with tomato sauce. But meat and potatoes, why do you need sauce? But it's okay, let's be going. Okay, Ijoma.
Okay. So let's dive right in and tell you a little about Libya. Libya is the fourth largest country in Africa by size. Its neighboring countries are Chad, Niger, Algeria, Tunisia, Egypt, and Sudan. It is bordered by the Mediterranean Sea in the north. The capital city is Tripoli, and Libya has a population of about 7 million. Just like you have in other countries, many languages are spoken in Libya, but the official language is Arabic.
Historically, Libya was ruled by different groups from the European and Asian continents. After being an Italian colony in the 20th century, Libya gained independence in 1951 as the United Kingdom of Libya. In 1969, the monarchy was overthrown, and today the country's official name is the State of Libya. Libya is known for having the largest oil reserves in Africa, but of course, we aren't here to talk about that. Nope. We're here to tell you about food.
Yes, we are. And Libya has food variety in spades.
Mm-hmm.
Libyan cuisine has Berber, Maghreb, and Mediterranean influences. In Tripoli, you can still find Italian influences in the food as well. When we talk about Libyan cuisine, you can find lots of olive oil, palm dates, grains, flatbread and lamb, and pasta.
Say it again. Say it again.
Pasta.
Okay. Say it
Pasta.
again. Oh, pasta. Pasta is so good.
You guys, just for a little background, if you ever come to Yemi's house and you look in her fridge and you don't see anything, she's going to be like, and you're like, there's no food. She's like, no, I have food. There's pasta. We can always make pasta.
I literally just offered Ijoma pasta like an hour ago.
Her fridge is empty, but she offered me pasta to make.
I mean, I have vegetables and pasta.
That's good.
So that means if you live in Libya, you have no excuse. No excuse. Eat pasta. You are actually supposed to eat pasta. Don't let anybody tell you fit fam. Eat pasta. You don't even have to feel guilty. Eat pasta. Pasta. The food of the gods.
On that note, maybe we'll start off by talking about pasta then. Since
sure.
You've already opened the gateway. Anyway, in Libya, you can find a one-pot chicken and pasta dish called mbakbaka. It is pasta and chicken cooked in a flavorful tomato sauce. So are you going to add anything apart from sounds and noise?
Give me a second. Let me take it in. Okay. Apart from mbabaka dish or mbakbaka, it sounds heavenly. In Libya, you have bazin, and bazin is unleavened bread made with barley, water, and salt. You can eat it with lamb stew and boiled eggs. You can also have lebak, which is stuffed vine leaves that are steamed. And then there's slatha, a kind of salad, but you have pasta, right?
Okay. By the way, guys, if you're from Libya, we apologize because we might be massacring some of these names.
Oh, we are definitely massacring. It's not possibly.
Probably.
We're
right?
almost certainly.
But at this point, we have no choice.
You know what?
We're sorry.
B for effort. No, B, okay. Not A.
B for effort. Okay.
We tried.
So apart from lebak and slatha, you can also find couscous. You can find iker kushin. That's dried meat fried in olive oil. There's a tagine, which is spicy lamb and tomato sauce. I think tagine sounds like something that they also might eat in Morocco, but I'm not sure.
Yeah.
And then there is, I'm about to kill this one, basbousa bil tamar. This is a semolina cake baked with syrup and topped with almonds. We delve more into Libyan food on the blog, so you can learn more. The Plus, on the blog, we're not pronouncing; we're just spelling everything out. So
Exactly.
it's definitely correct.
So then you can master the pronunciation all by yourself.
Exactly. Anyway, so let's talk about mbaten. To make mbaten, you stuff potatoes with. It's basically stuffed potatoes with seasoned minced meat or lamb. You coat it in breadcrumbs and egg, and you deep fry it. You can have it as a snack or a dish. So first, you need your potatoes. You need your ground beef or your ground lamb. So I wanted to make a lamb dish because we haven't done lamb in a really long time. I think since the Djibouti Skudakaris. And so I wanted to do something with lamb. But then I went to the grocery store and they didn't have lamb. And I didn't want to go to the other grocery store. And I started looking at my pockets. I was like, well, there's halal ground beef here. So let's go with that. So we used that. So you have your seasoning as desired. The recipe that we used talked about chopped onions, chopped parsley. It asked for fresh parsley, but I used dry parsley because I already had that. Fresh garlic that was grated, pepper as needed. They asked for hot pepper if you want. That was optional, so I used a hot atarodo, hot red pepper. Cinnamon.
So it's like that's not habanero, right? That's Scotch bonnet.
What's the difference between Scotch bonnet and habanero? I don't even know.
Habanero is like the long one. I think Scotch bonnet is hotter. But like atarodo is like a Yoruba word and it's very popularly used. That's why I wanted to actually use the English word. It's fine.
Wait,
they love us the way we are.
Is the long one is it the green? Because the green long one is jalapeno.
Jalapeno, yeah.
Oh, okay. Well, it was the red and orange
Scotch bonnet pepper.
Oh, the Scotch bonnet. Okay,
Yeah.
we use Scotch bonnet peppers. As well as dried cinnamon powder, ginger powder, salt, eggs, breadcrumbs, water, butter, and flour. Instead of butter, I used oil. Okay. So the first thing you do is you prepare the meat. You season it. The recipe we used asks you to just fry the meat as it's without seasoning, and then add to the seasoning later. And I look at Yemi's face. If you grew up I know for sure in a Nigerian kitchen, when it comes to things like this, you always season your meat before you cook it. You don't add the spices after.
Why are you having bland food?
Because
anyway, it's okay. It's okay. I will.
It gives it time to, when you season beforehand, it gives it time to enter the meat, right?
Yeah, let's enter we will.
Yeah. So basically what I did was anything that was powdered. So the salt, the cinnamon, the ginger, I used that to season the meat.
Okay.
And then from there, I followed the rest of the recipe as it requested.
Yeah, it's not like we want to change the recipe, but it almost feels like if you season it after, some of that season is just going to be sitting
at
outside.
The top, yeah.
And I'm like, dude.
But that's the thing about cooking. Like with this show, we're not trying to change anything, but we're kind of like learning about other countries' cuisine and kind of in a way still cooking it in a way that we understand.
Yeah, and also because, I mean, not everyone is going to have, for example, fresh parsley at home. Some people are going to have dried. So this is why sometimes we make some changes, not because we're trying to change it, but we're just trying to be realistic. And sometimes you may have this, you may not have that. You may want to get, lamb, but lamb might be expensive. So you just get yourself some,
ground beef.
Maybe it's beef on sale anyway. So just...
It was on sale, actually. I feel attacked.
I know you well enough to know it was on sale. That's why you bought it. So don't worry.
Anyhow, so you start with cooking the meat. You season the meat and then you fry it. It asks you to fry until it's almost drenched. Most of the juices are gone. And then I added a cup of boiling water, and then added the chopped garlic and the parsley and the peppers and all of that. And you basically cook it. The whole process takes maybe 20-25 minutes. You cook it until it's almost dried out. Take off the heat, and then you add a beaten egg and a couple tablespoons of breadcrumbs. Now, because it's still hot, the egg is still going to cook inside. Okay. So now you've done the meat. It's a whole process. The trickiest part of mbaten is cutting the potatoes. Because you want to cut it so that it's almost like you cut them into thin
like an
slices.
Envelope.
Yeah, exactly. Well, yeah, that's an envelope or like a little mini half sandwich. Except that the sandwich doesn't open all the way. It only opens halfway. Because what you're going to do is you cut a thin slice of potato 3/4 of the way through, and then you cut another slice all the way down, and then you have your little sandwich.
So it's like bread, but instead of like using 2 sandwiches for bread, use 1 bread and fold the bread into 2. Then you put all your things in the middle.
Yeah, I guess you could do that. Exactly. Yeah.
So it's like a 1 sandwich bread folded.
Yeah, but the way for you to achieve that is to cut a thin slice like 3/4 of the way through, and then cut again all the way through, so you have your little envelope or sandwich or whatever you want to call it.
Okay.
So you cut them that way. The good thing is an important thing is to keep the potatoes in water while you're doing that, so they don't change color, right? I think they oxidize or something. I don't know what it is. So while you do that, And then you kind of set up a little station. So you have your meat ready to go. You have your cup potatoes. And then you now have to mix some breadcrumbs and some flour together as what's it called? Like a breading. And then you have some more beaten eggs to dip in. And you're going to deep fry these. For a healthier version, some people might choose to bake it, I saw. But I wanted to try the authentic way first.
Yeah.
So you stuff your potato with the meat, which is already cooked. You stuff the space, I guess, with the meat. And then, so each slice is stuffed. So it's a whole process. You stuff them all, and then you dip them in the flour breadcrumb mixture. But you only dip the part that has the meat on it, because the rest of it isn't really going to stick anyway.
Okay. Yeah. So wait, if I'm hearing correctly, you slice the potato, you stuff your meat inside, but then you already have your mixture that is the egg and the breadcrumb, and so you dump the parts that is open with the meat. So the open part where you stuff the meat through, you dump that part in that your mixture.
Exactly, except that you have two things. So you have your flour and breadcrumbs in one plate, and then you have beaten eggs in another plate.
So you do the beaten eggs first?
No,
and then
you do the breadcrumbs first on the open part, and then you now dip the whole potato into the egg.
Oh,
yeah,
makes sense. Makes sense. Yeah.
So when you do that, what the instructions said to do is, the best thing I would advise you to do as well is you stuff all your meat first, do all the stuffing first, and then you do the flour mixture dipping, and then you don't do the egg until your oil is hot enough for you to fry. So you dip and then you start dumping in the oil. When you fry on medium heat-ish, and the instructions said to crowd the potatoes as much as possible into the pot, so that they can fry evenly, because if there's a lot of space, they might fry too fast. That way they can cook more slowly, more evenly. Okay. And then you fry until it turns golden brown. And then you're good to go. Now, there are two ways you can eat it. You can eat it that way on its own as a dish or as a snack, or you can have it with some tomato sauce, whichever you prefer. So I had some tomato sauce made on the side. The tomato sauce I made wasn't specific to Mbatan. It was actually from a random website. I think it was the Food and Wine website or something, but I will post the link on the blog. And even with that, though, I didn't go strictly with the instructions there.
Well, did they tell you also not to season?
In the tomato sauce? Well, I used all the seasoning they asked me to.
Okay, good. Because some of these places, they'd be like, don't add season.
No, please. So what I was going to say was, I didn't use exactly the same ingredient. Like, I used the exact same ingredients, but not necessarily in the same proportions. I just kind of freestyled it to suit what I liked. And so we went with that. And yeah, once you fried, you're good to go, and you're good to have your mbatten.
And it's served hot, right?
Yeah, okay. Because you wouldn't enjoy, I don't think it's the kind of thing you would enjoy cold.
No, you would not. So basically, when you look at it, for those who know what a taco is, it essentially looks like a taco, but imagine a taco that is fried, right? It's almost like an enveloped potato meat in egg, fried egg, and wrapped in deliciousness. I'm really thinking of how to describe it.
Every stage, actually. So by the time we post on the blog and you look, if you can get to the blog, you kind of see every stage and see what Liam is trying to describe. Because if you do a cross section of the potato, you kind of see like the top layer of flaky coating that's golden.
Yes.
And then you can see the potato in the middle, and then you can see the meat, and then you can see potato, and then you can see
So essentially, it has every single thing you want in a meal: meat, potatoes, and egg. All right, we're done with this episode. Let's go.
Wow.
Well, okay, as you can probably tell from the way I'm like describing it, everyone that has listened to this blog, you don't even need to listen to more than like 2 episodes to know that I'm a huge fan of meat. And potatoes, I like fries. I like potatoes, even though I'm trying to lose these COVID pounds. But obviously, it is delicious. The meat, for those who are familiar with Mediterranean dishes, the meat taste reminded me of kofta. I think the meat and everything is delicious. However, if I was making it, I would take out the parsley, because even when I lived in a country where kofta was essentially like a regular meal or a snack, I always found that I would rather go for other types of meat that didn't have parsley. Like, I didn't like the parsley or that kind of flavor inside my meat, but it is not overwhelming. So it's not overwhelming enough that you're like, ugh, no, I hate parsley, I've never eaten this, gross. But it has a hint of the flavor. If you don't like it, you're like, not my fave, maybe not something I'll eat by myself. But it's good enough that you know that this is a good tasting dish. Like, I don't know who came up with this, but you're a G.
You know, it's funny you say that because as I was making this thing, I was like, who came up with this? Because this is a labor of love.
It is.
I was sitting there, I was standing and stuffing these potatoes with meat. And that's the lengthy part of it. Going, oh my God, because you make the meat, then you slice the potatoes, then you have to stuff it, then you have to. And I was like, who came up with this? This can be an accident.
I almost feel like it must have been invented during the time of royalty. And so they had to make something, super fancy to serve to, a king or whoever and his guests.
I should look up the history of it because when I was thinking
we should look it up because there's so much love and attention put into every single stage.
You have to put
that I almost feel like I was eating with kings and princes. What did you think about it?
Okay, so I loved it, actually.
Say love one more time.
Loved.
Okay, go ahead.
I really, what was it? Because I said it 3 times. You have a problem with odd and even numbers?
No, you were saying it. I was like, tell us you love it.
I missed the sarcasm completely.
I was being sarcastic.
I actually I really enjoyed it, and I'm not a. I don't know if I should say this out loud. I'm not really. I'm loving potatoes. If anyone knows me, they'll know why it took me a while to say that. I'm in the last couple of years, I'm loving potatoes little by little, but I really liked this potato dish. And something that's interesting was you said that you didn't like the parsley. Typically, I would agree with you. Question for you: do you like cilantro?
I wouldn't go out of my way to have cilantro, but if it was there, I might take it out of my meal.
Okay.
But except it's already baked into the meal, then I'm like, okay, I get it. I have to have. Like, there's some people that feel like it's bitter. Like, there's some people that when they eat it, it tastes bitter.
Yeah, it's a genetic thing.
I'm not one of those people. But there's just something about it. It's always odd. Inside food. I'm like,
it makes sense.
Why are you here? Why do you exist? Like, why must you ruin a perfectly good meal? So.
Whereas I actually really like cilantro. So I'm wondering if that's the difference. But because the funny thing is, I always liked cilantro. I don't really like parsley. And even when I have Mediterranean dishes, I found the flavor of parsley to be too strong. So when I saw parsley in this, I thought, I'm going to use very little. But then I think the recipe called for 2 cups of fresh chopped parsley. Now, if you're using dried parsley, you're going to use a lot less because the flavor is stronger. But I ended up using more parsley than I wanted to. And I was like, I made a mistake. But then I tasted the meat and I loved it. And I was just saying to Yemi that I wish I made a mistake. What I should have done was brought her some of the meat itself, the meat mixture, before we stuffed it. I don't know. You might still not like it though, because if you didn't like the parsley, then I wonder. But I absolutely loved it. I found though that when I fried it, the meat flavor was dulled down a little bit, probably because it had been fried.
But I found that the meat flavor actually entered the potatoes. So even though it was dulled within the meat itself, like every part of the potato actually tasted good.
Okay. So I really enjoyed it. I loved how light and flaky it was. I don't know about you, but growing up, we used to do this thing when we fried yam in Nigeria. And by yam, I don't mean sweet potato because that will have too much moisture. But then the yam that we've described a couple of times, we fried it. It has much less water than sweet potato. It's closest to maybe a white sweet potato that doesn't have a lot of water content. But we would dip it in egg and fry it. And it makes the yam taste like crispy and flaky. And that's what this did for the potato. So I loved that crispiness at the top that was just flaky and just brought back memories, and I absolutely loved it. The other thing was, I agree with you that the flavor went all the way through. But in the recipe, there's something that it didn't mention I worried about. You don't salt the potatoes.
That's why I felt the need to mention that, because even when you were describing the process, it didn't sound like you salted the potatoes. You just put it in water and did it. But by the time you added the egg coating, and because the wedge itself was relatively thinly sliced, so it's not a chunky wedge, the meat flavor, the juice and everything actually just went through into the potato as well.
But here's the thing. Because when I first tasted it, I actually felt it was missing salt. So what I did was I dusted them with a little bit of salt. I don't know how much of it went through.
So you cheated.
I cheated a little bit. So if I were to make mbatten again, I would salt the potatoes a little bit.
I mean,
a little bit.
No shade, but it also didn't tell you to season your meat first. So I'm not surprised.
It comes down to personal taste too, right? For some people, it's fine. I just thought a little bit of salt would have
just brought it together.
Yeah,
and it's good. It's a good meal.
Yeah. Did you like it with or without the tomato sauce? Which did you prefer?
Without.
Me too.
Like the tomato sauce was more like, why? It's like the cousin you invite to a party, but you don't really like them, and they showed up, and then they ended up being drunk. and then causing stress for everybody.
Okay,
like,
you really did not like the tomato sauce then?
Not I dislike it, but it's more like, why do you exist and why are you here? Go home.
So I have a question. Keep in mind that the tomato sauce I made was not specifically for Mbasa, it was a generic one.
If it was pepper sauce, maybe it would be different.
Oh, okay, that's the difference.
Because tomato, like, I don't know, like, I don't personally just like tomato sauce by itself. Like, even when I don't eat salsa, well, salsa is not really tomato sauce, but I don't really eat like tomato sauce. I like more like a pepper sauce. So if it was a pepper sauce, I might feel differently.
Okay.
It may most likely be like the aunt you like that you bring to the party.
Okay, it's okay with this party.
I know. I really want to go to a party. Being locked at home
I
is
know,
the worst. We were talking. This is not related to the blog. But we were talking recently about how we miss just like going somewhere and just sitting down and just like having a drink and dinner and just adulting out of the four walls of our house.
Yeah, it'd be nice.
It's okay. It's okay. Soon and very soon we'll be going out.
Okay. So yeah, like I said, I really liked the mbata. Actually, one of the things I wanted to mention was, as I was making it, because you make something, it cools down. I just thought another way to, like, if you have leftover mbata or something, what you can do if you have an air fryer is maybe air fry it a couple minutes. It's not something that I would heat up by putting in the microwave.
Oh yeah, you don't want
it's supposed
soggy.
to be crispy. Yeah, it'll be soggy. So maybe use an oven or something with the grill.
Yeah,
grill
something to
function.
crisp it up.
To crisp it up. Because I was making it, I was like, well, you could take this to a potluck. This is the kind of thing that people could eat.
Finger food.
Like it's finger food, yeah. So yeah, I really liked it.
Well, and there you have it, people. I think this mbatan is easy, interesting, and make it as a snack. As Ijoma said, take it as an appetizer to a potluck. And we can go out and, of course, do that when we can all go out and have social gatherings together. Well, except you're in a country that is already open, in which case we envy you and we can't wait to join you.
Exactly. So thank you as always for listening in, and we hope you learned something new today. Follow us on Instagram so you can see when we post fun facts about Libya, and we will see you again in 2 weeks from our next destination.
Bye.
Don't say, oh, crying out loud. Fine, bye, because you need the closure of bye.
I do. I need closure. Bye.
Thank you for listening. While the podcast airs every 2 weeks, we have a backlog of episodes just waiting for you to enjoy.
The show is a collaboration between Tunuka Media and 234 Pantry.
Africa in My Kitchen is produced by Tunuka Media and co-hosted with 234 Pantry. So while on Instagram, visit both Tunuka Media and 234 Pantry. With Tunuka Media, you'll find out about more shows produced which aren't necessarily food related, while on 234 Pantry, you will get more food related content.
For example, Tunuka Media also produces another show called Overlooked, which I host. All the links with the relevant information to connect with us are located in the show notes. Like, subscribe, and share within your community. We'd also really love for you to give the show a high rating wherever you enjoy your podcasts.